Hello and welcome to Tabletop Odyssey. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be doing a video which I don't normally do, and it's sort of like a list review of a list that I've been playing recently, and I'm just going to talk about it. It's essentially Luke, Leia and 3 Rotary blasters with the AT-RT, but I've taken this list, I took it to an Element Games tournament and I've been running it in the Yavin based team league on Tabletop Simulator, and I think I took down a very good player with it in that league. And at the Element Games event I went 2-1 and the only person to beat me was Ellis, and Ellis is a great player, so I'm not necessarily chalking that one to the list or not because he's better than I am, so it's really hard to work out. Two things, again, these have been like at the start of all my videos lately. I'm still not quite fully better, my voice still doesn't sound 100% like me. And the second thing is, which I'm going to start doing all the time, which is if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, then please do consider doing that, as it does help quite a lot. So yeah, we'll get onto the list and I'll talk about when it works and when it doesn't work. Now there is obviously quite a heavy armor skew. I'm rocking 3 AT-RTs with rotary blasters, so depending on what you come against, you don't want to come against impact. Anything else, I think you're sort of okay. So we're on tabletop Admiral here, and we're rocking Luke, right? Luke is classic for sure. We've got 9 activations overall. Now that is on the low side. In a sense, the best players, the better players here are trying to run 10 to 12. So if you're sacrificing units there and the number of activations, it can actually come back to hurt you. Hopefully not to the entire monitor there, I do apologise. And there was a game that I was playing on Tabletop Simulator and I definitely felt it. My opponent simply had Luke as well and I had Luke, and he just waited with his Luke outside of range 1 from the recover the supplies. So he could literally just move and pick it up, and he just waited until I'd gone with everything. Then he went with his Luke, moved on to the objective, picked it up, and then double moved. Then played Son of Skywalker, I think, next turn and just double moved away. I managed to eventually win that game with some sneaky play, but you can see being out activated can be a significant problem. This is one of its weaknesses. It only has 9 activations, so just keep that in mind. Luke, we're rocking a pretty standard Luke, I think. Reflexes and push. If I was going to drop anything, I'd probably drop reflexes because you normally want to keep him hidden, or you get dodges with his command cards and stuff like that. If I was short of points, I would drop reflexes. Stims, I love Stims, keeps him alive. Get that, if you can get an extra use out of him, an extra activation, then Stims are definitely worth it. And force push, so many little tricksy plays you can do with force push now. I can't see me ever not using force push when I have the option to use force push. It's so good. And Leia naked. I'm not 100% convinced on Leia. I think I'm pretty much just using, everybody does this combination, and I think it's because of the Inspire 2 and the bombardment from the first turn, and take cover is quite good getting the dodge. So she's like a utility player, but to me she sort of doesn't feel like she does too much. If I was good, I'm sort of tempted to drop her in a game and see how that goes, but there must be a reason everybody like rates her, and I can sort of see it is useful to have her occasionally, but I just run her with nothing on because, you know, it's easy. And then I run 4 Z6s, Rebel Troopers with D6. Now you could run these naked. I had a few points left over, so I took recon intel with frag grenades on 1. That's like my aggro unit. If I ever need an aggro unit, maybe I can hide up and I can throw in my frag grenades with a Z6 and blow people up. It would never really happen too often, if ever, so you could definitely drop them. I took an impact grenade because I was quite short of impact myself. I've not played against any vehicles because that's one of the reasons I'm using vehicles, is because there aren't as many vehicles, but you know, that does sort of mean that those impact grenades can be wasted. And then simply 3 AT-RTs with rotary blaster. I like this one. It's sort of like the moving turret. It's 5 black dice. You've got what, 18 points of armor. Yeah, it's very, well, I won't say very strong, but against certain lists it can be really difficult for a list to take these down. For example, if you go against rebels and maybe they're rocking Z6s and they're rocking snipers, they've got almost no impact, especially if they don't have Luke. They'll be rocking literally no impact, and yeah, you can abuse that by putting them in strong places, get them like up the board as quickly as possible into the position you need them to be, and, you know, try and do as much damage as you can, because yeah, 4 wounds before you can possibly lose a weapon, yeah, fine, okay. I'm not really bothered about them if I've already got them into place. I just don't want to hit that surge on the resilience value and lose my rotary blaster. So essentially I'm most of the time getting all 6 wounds use out of them. So you move them up quickly, put them in those key positions that you want, key positions, no pun intended, and, you know, just try and blow people up with them. I never came across anybody who had like 6 DLTs. I think like a 6 DLT list would really counter this list. I did come across against a list that had not 6 ATSTs, an ATST, which had quite a lot of impact in it because it also had speeder bikes, but it had so little else that I could just win on, you know, the objectives essentially. So overall, I think it's a very beginner friendly list because there's so much here that is easy to play. The main problem you have is the positioning with the ATRTs and not blocking yourself either with your troopers or your other ATRTs. Luke is scary. You just hide him and move him up and try and double jump into a unit also, and maybe kill that unit and then force push another unit into you. I literally love this list against everything but a shed ton of impact and another Luke. And it's not that it's not that those lists can't be beat with this list. It's just that those are the 2 things that they really dislike. So we'll talk about maybe the command cards and stuff like that. Command cards, pretty obvious. We're just going to use all of Luke's and all his of Leia's. I like No Time for Sorrows. Lets you do extra little tricky stuff with Luke if you can. Maybe like you move, your opponent maybe places himself just out of 2, and then you No Time for Sorrows, and then you can double jump in with Luke and pull another unit in, as I said before. That can be super strong, especially the fact it's 2 troopers. You can give it to Luke. That can be a really strong card. My allies are forced to give him a dodge if you can't Son of Skywalker, but you've got to risk him in a tricky position, maybe for a turn. My allies, the force is pretty decent for that. Bombardment is an absolute classic. I mean, there was one game and I was playing against a Vader and I think 3 sniper lists, and I just took 2 sniper lists, and I could see both the snipers because of the way that he deployed them. Took them both off, and it was just like, oh, well, that's that then, isn't it? The problem with snipers, a lot of people will place them so you can only see the leader will be out and then the second guy will be hidden, so then you can't kill the second guy, and then the second guy will move out and always get his shot off. Obviously the downside is you have to move, but that's better than just getting wiped off in 1 shot. So if you are playing with snipers, then make sure you do that. Bombardment is a great way to counter that. Obviously if you've played something like Limited Viz, that can be difficult to get off, but overall pretty decent. As Skywalker is an absolute beast of a card. It really combines nicely with Force Push. Again, if you can move, you kill that unit you were in contact with. Sorry, you'd have to move. No, I don't actually know how that would work, because you can't. You have to do your attack straight after it. So you could maybe charge a unit that wasn't going to be able to surround you, and then force push another unit into you. But the problem you have there with the charge, it's all going to be a bit awkward. So a lot of the time you might end up maybe double moving, attacking, killing that unit, shooting, and then force pushing that unit into you, just so maybe Luke can't get shot. But then do keep in mind that they can always withdraw and get out of there and shoot your Luke. So it's difficult to use, it's difficult to explain, but Force Push and Son of Skywalker, really nice combination if you can get it off. Works really nicely. So moving on to the battle plans, the ones that I actually drop is Long March, and the reason I drop Long March is fairly simple, but I'm actually considering dropping Disarray instead of the Long March. With the narrower deployment, it's possibly a bit harder to get the ATRTs exactly where you want them to without blocking yourself. Now, the downside with that is you can also suffer that with Disarray, and you can actually suffer it with advanced positions, especially considering the ATRTs don't get the Scout 1 move, obviously. So the reality is, none of them are particularly good, and placing your ATRT so that they can freely move, you've got 3, is essentially the key part to this list and its success or failure. Now, for the objectives, I ditched Sabotage the Moisture Vaporators because essentially that comes down, you're going to possibly leave 1 unit to heal, or maybe 2 units to heal both the Vaporators, and I don't have the units to spur, the trooper units to spur. So if you take 2 units out of it and you go try and after another Vaporator, well, my force is down so much that I'm a bit worried that they're just going to outpoint me. They'll just kill me before I get to their Vaporator, and they can win on points. So I don't really like that one. The best ones, if you can, while you're trying to, you know, in the mini game before the game, ideally key positions is actually pretty decent, right? Because key positions now is the one in the center of the board, the vehicles can claim or count towards this because it's a unit leader, not trooper unit. So the vehicles actually do count, which is pretty damn decent and nice. And it's the same thing with breakthrough. Breakthrough is actually okay because, again, that is it's a unit leader, not trooper leader. So they are both, the ATRTs are both usable in those two scenarios. Whereas, say, in intercept the transmissions, it has to be trooper leader. And recover the supplies, obviously only troopers can claim it, like an ATRT can't claim it. That'd be busted as anything. So I always try to go for key positions or breakthrough, probably key positions. And especially now that it's actually balanced, it's actually more than fine. As for the conditions, I just don't like minefield, so I don't use minefield. Really is as simple as that. So this list comes down to, I think it's quite beginner friendly. I honestly believe that. I don't think it's particularly too difficult to use. The main problem is your ATRTs. You can't walk through them either without ATRTs or troopers, so you do have that bit of a problem. But beyond that, you just move your ATRTs forward, try and flank with Luke, hide him until you get into that key position, that important slot where you need him, and boom, you just try and blow them up with that. If I was going to maybe tweak this, I could maybe see me dropping a Z6 trooper for 2 naked troopers, just so I could have an extra activation, but I'm not so sure I would. I quite like this as its setup. I'm not sure it will win every game ever against the best people, but I think it's fairly solid, and I had a few good games with it. So what I'll try and do with these going forward is I'll essentially try and take pictures of me using the lists, and obviously it's in Tabletop Simulator, I might not be able to do that, but maybe like a tournament report of the list of like when I used it and where it went right and where it went wrong kind of thing. My voice, I'm really suffering right now. I'm going to have to edit the weird bits out of this where my voice just dies on me. Hopefully I don't like lose my voice. That would be devastating. But hopefully this video hopefully I said enough that this video actually makes sense. I really like it. I would recommend it. The cost problem is if you get 2 core sets, then you've got most of it. It's actually 2 core sets and layer and an ATRT upgrade unit, and then you've got all the ATRTs you could ever use anyway. So cost wise, not that bad, pretty easy to obtain. So before I run out of breath and actually pass out here, I'm going to say thank you very much. If you like the video, then do like. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, the bell if you want notifications, and thank you to all my Patreons. I do really appreciate that, and that's a really good way of supporting me if that's something you want to do. Other than that, guys, have a most beautiful day, and I think I might go for a lie down. Goodbye.